Hi, everybody. My name is Josh Schachter. I'm a product director and venture general manager at BCG Digital Ventures. And welcome to our session on LinkedIn Live, also airing on YouTube. And today we're going to be discussing the Startup Ops Pyramid, which is a framework for helping startup teams achieve their peak performance. We're really excited and happy to have everybody on the line today. And thank you very much for joining us. So I'll go through a quick introduction, then we'll talk about the pyramid framework itself. And then we'll get into a case study and show how we applied it in building an app called Settle in Malaysia. Quick introduction of BCG DV, BCG Digital Ventures. We're part of Boston Consulting Group, and we are the world's largest incubator of corporate-backed ventures. So major corporations come to us when they want to ideate, incubate, and launch digital businesses and new startups. We've been around for a little over 6 years. In that time, we've launched over 100 ventures. We have over 1,000 people across 9 global centers and a couple of satellite labs as well. And we take a very multidisciplinary approach. So we have on our staff here engineers, product managers like myself, designers, strategists, and so on and so forth. We're a very tribal startup team type of setting. A little bit about myself. Again, my name is Josh Schachter. I'm a product person by background. So I have over 10 years experience building digital products and startup teams. I've had my hand in my own entrepreneurship, started 2 companies. I've also worked in intrapreneurship, new companies and new businesses within existing corporate enterprises at eHarmony, Intuit, and the NFL. And then here in 4.5 years at BCG Digital Ventures, I've built everything from mobile applications in China for parents to financial platforms in Canada to Settle, which we'll talk about, and then a few stealth startups, which are a little bit more sensitive. So who is the Startup Ops Pyramid Framework for? Who should be listening and engaged today? Well, it's for anybody that's on a startup team or any team that exhibits any of these characteristics. The first is that it's not very clear what your true north is. There could be multiple true norths. It could be a circuitous path to get there. And so the team really needs to stay gelled and aligned and coherent on where they're trying to go. They're also moving incredibly quickly. They're in this speedboat and time is scarce and sensitive. And again, alignment really matters. There's no time to waste. Or the team has a myriad of talents, capabilities, and skills, right? It's very cross-functional, multidisciplinary, like the environment with which we work in. And again, you want to be able to leverage the team and everybody's different skills through alignment. The pyramid, again, is a framework for achieving peak performance in these types of team settings. We started our vision at the top, and that ultimately cascades all the way through the bedrock, which is culture, composed of our communication and our values. So let's start at the top at setting our vision. The vision is your team's true north. This should be something aspirational, but still relevant to today and still within reach. So it shouldn't be something that's going to assume 1,000 different pivots to get there. It should stretch your team beyond their comfort zone, but again, still be relevant to today. And it's a longer term horizon. So it's not something that you think you're going to accomplish in the next quarter or 2. From your vision stem your pillars. So if your vision is the what you want to accomplish, then your pillars are the how you're going to get there. I like to create 3 pillars for my team. I think 3 is just a nice number. It's very digestible for teams to focus on. And you'll notice as we go on that everything tethers from these pillars, and that'll make more sense in a moment. Your KPIs are what help us to measure your success. As they say, if you can't measure, you can't manage. And so we know that this is critical to the success of any new team. KPIs are mapped to each pillar. And what this does is this helps create a framework for the KPIs so that the team understands the context with which they fit on how they're driving the overall success of your program. I find that having this mapping and that unification of the KPIs is really critical to the overall team's understanding and gelling around them. And next we have our stage gates. So your vision, like we said, is something that's a little bit more aspirational, a little longer term, but then let's look at something that's a little bit nearer term, right? Ways that we can break down and digest that vision so that we can get there in increments and in strides. And this is the approach that we like to take at Digital Ventures with our partners. So again, your stage gate milestones should be on a near-term basis. Generally, a quarterly basis is a good time period. They should be something, they can be organized into different types of categories. They can be commercial stage gates, operational, product driven. They can also include the attainment of your key KPIs. And at DV, we like to use stage gates as a way for us to evaluate where are we on our pathway to being successful with our venture. So are we on pace in hitting those stage gates, which helps us make key decisions of whether we should park, expand, persevere, right? What should we do with the new businesses, with the startups that we're in the process of launching? Next, we have our work plans. So this is where the real stuff gets done, right? This is the meat and potatoes here. This is where we execute. This is the choreography of our cross-functional team, all those different team players coming together and understanding how their activities map to those stage gates or the pillars. You can do either or. But again, that mapping is really important because it makes sure that there's no loose activities, right? Everybody is on the same axis of what they're driving towards. I like to do team-wide work planning sessions every week or every other week, depending on what your sprint cadence is preferred. And this is a way for, again, everybody to be very transparent about what they're working on. You can also, if it's a larger team, you can also choose to do this session with just your team leads, your work stream leads, rather. And then my favorite part, which is the part about people, the part about building culture. For me, personally, culture is the composition of two things. It's your communication style, your communication protocol, and it's also the value system that you've set up. I like my teams to run with radical candor, meaning that they are very transparent, open, radical in their candor, right, and honesty with each other, but at the same time empathetic towards each other and able to put themselves in each other's point of view. As you can imagine from the pyramid, it requires a tremendous amount of openness and trust. And so having this cultural imprint is incredibly important. And we'll talk about values as well as we get to our example. And so speaking of that, let's get on to the example. So we talked about the startup ops pyramid in its framework in a bit of an academic type of session, right? And this is how let's talk about how we applied it to launching Settle, which is with our corporate partner, which is an app in Malaysia, a digital payments application. So our corporate partner first came to us with a couple of innovation imperatives. They wanted to really create an amazing retail experience for their customers and to leapfrog the current reality of the experience at their petrol stations, at their gas stations. This is an oil and gas company. They wanted to create businesses that would leverage their corporate advantages and assets and capabilities, i.e. leverage their current existing customer base, leverage their petrol gas stations. And they wanted to create new engagement channels that would diversify their brand and help to increase their brand equity. In our typical style, we did heavy amounts of ethnographic research. And in this case, we'll highlight the ethnographic research we did around the purchase journey at the pump, at the gas station. So ethnographic research means going in deep, talking to customers, conducting focus groups, doing walk-alongs, really putting yourself in their shoes and understanding what their pain points, what their frictions, what their psychology is. 3 key frictions and pain points emerged for us. The first was that customers hated the hold placed on their credit cards when they purchase gas, petrol with their credit card. And that's a little bit of a cultural thing for that part of the world. But nonetheless, it was a very specific and salient pain point. They also reflected the sense that the brand impression wasn't where we wanted it to be, giving us the rite of passage to come up with ideas that would create more innovation and increase the brand equity. And customers reflected to us that time is important. We all know this, right? When you're getting gas or petrol on your morning commute or coming back from work, you don't want to waste time and you don't want to wait in line. If you're not paying with credit card, you also don't want to pay in cash and have to wait in line and those sorts of things and slow yourself down. So across a large journey of mapping these pain points to ideas and features and solutions, we developed Settle. Settle is Malaysia's first pay, pump, and go payments application. And so you can imagine a world where you've got your Settle app downloaded, you have a stored balance on your app, you're in your car, you go straight up to the petrol station, it identifies what pump you're at, releases the pump controller, you pump your petrol, pump your gas, it debits your account, and off you go. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to be delayed. It's completely frictionless, seamless. Settle's doing great right now because of that killer first use case that we've developed as a payment application. And I'm really proud of what the team has accomplished. And so as a team, we started with our vision, getting back to the pyramid framework, right? And the vision was pretty clear for us. It was to become the #1 seamless payments app in Southeast Asia. From that, we established our 3 pillars of how we would get there. The first thing we would do, what we needed to do, was build the foundation. We went from 0 to 1, so we had to build the foundation of some of the app, right? We also had to build feature parity to get up to the competitors and the incumbents within the payment space in Southeast Asia, specifically in Malaysia. The next thing we needed to do was to uniquely delight our customer. And so that is, evidence of that is the use case that I just described, right? A very unique and differentiated use case, which is what's making Settle so successful currently. And the last is adding value to the station dealers and to the merchants. So Settle, as a payments application, is a 2-sided network. And while we needed to make the customers happy, we also need to make sure that the merchants are happy too. And from these 3 pillars, you'll see that everything really maps from there, starting with our KPIs, building the foundation, delighting customers, and delivering value to suppliers. Now, you could actually rearrange some of these KPIs, I think, into different categories. Some of the delineation is a little bit fuzzy, but that doesn't really matter. Again, what matters is that they are mapped, that there is a framework, because this then means that they're not just floating out there. The team understands how those KPIs relate to the ultimate success of the business, of the growing business. We established our stage gates, so we know that the app is not going to become the biggest payments application in Southeast Asia in its first quarter out the gate, right? We need to break down those success factors. And so that's where we did this in different categories, operationally, organizationally, commercially, product-wise, and marketing-wise, and created different stage gate milestones, like the ability to onboard our first suppliers, build our team up, achieve a high NPS score with our customers, and then be able to acquire customers at a reasonable, cost-effective rate. Our work plans then map to our pillars. You can map your work plans to your pillars or your stage gates, either or, but effectively, again, this is a way for people to know everything that they're working on is in context of the overall goal, right? To make sure that there's no floating lost activities out there. And so this is a PowerPoint template. We chose to do our work plan actually in Google Sheets. You can use whatever tool is comfortable for you and your team. But you can see here how we listed out all the key activities each week, how they related to the ultimate pillars and stage gates and vision. And then the team was all very transparent. They knew where each other was headed. A variation of a work plan, of course, as a product person, is a feature roadmap. And so you can see here illustratively how we categorize our features based on these key pillars as well. Again, this gives discipline to us as a product team so that we know that everything that we're coming up with aligns to the ultimate vision, to the ultimate goal. And then getting back again to my favorite part, the people process, building out the culture. So we talked a little bit about the communication protocol, that radical candor. Let's talk about the values. So as a team, we sat down actually our first week and we aligned on our team values. And actually the process didn't go that great because we didn't really know each other that well yet. And it was really difficult to come up with a unified set. But flash forward 6 months, and you can see here some pictures of that. The process was very fluid. And so as a team, we established our key operating principles and values, which were to have impact over words. We wanted to be doers. The only bad idea is the one unspoken, right? Making it a safe, psychologically safe environment for everybody to speak up. Fighting for the right to delight our customers, like we talked, that maps back to one of our pillars. Reaching beyond our comfort zone. And we are family, having that network and that mesh of support, trust, and safety. And as a team leader, one of your biggest roles and top priorities is to be the catalyst to instill that culture. So one of the things we did was we painted the values on the wall, right? And I truly believe that this is the key responsibility of all team leaders, is to make sure to brandish your values, to make sure that they are present everywhere. So that's really the roundup of the Startup Ops Pyramid. A couple of additional resources for some folks. One book that's really inspired me, I've mentioned it a few times, is Radical Candor by Kim Scott. It talks about that framework of being candid, open, and trusting, but at the same time empathetic. John Doerr wrote Measure What Matters. I actually read this a week after formulating Startup Ops Pyramid and then realized that there's a lot of overlay there. But John Doerr is the venture capitalist who brought OKRs to Google, and Google has been obviously wildly successful with that framework. And I highly recommend this book. I think he does a really good, both strategic, high level, but also very tactical way of breaking that down and feeding it to people so that you could implement OKRs in your organization. I'd be remiss not to plug my own article, The Origin of This Conversation Today, How Teams Can Outperform Using the Startup Ops Pyramid. You can see there the bit.ly link to go to that article. That was in partnership with Startup Grind on Medium. And then Settle, our case study. Please check that out, especially if you're in Malaysia. It's growing incredibly, and we're really proud of what the team has accomplished. Again, my name is Josh Schachter. Feel free to email me. My email address is below if you have any follow-up questions. And at this time, we'll take questions from the live audience. Okay, well, it looks like there's no questions at this time, which I'll take as a good sign that it was clear to everybody. Hope you all enjoyed this presentation. Again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Again, we're incredibly proud of what the team is doing in Malaysia on Settle, and we're really proud of this Startup Ops Pyramid. We think it's a great device and a great pragmatic tool to bring to your teams. And I personally, if you do bring them to your teams, send me feedback, let me know how that goes. If you need any advice in inserting them into your teams, I'd be happy to help as well. And hope everybody has a great rest of their day. Thank you very much.